Hey everyone, welcome to my channel. My name is Anna B and I like to create art for self-awareness and personal development. As I started creating this video, I noticed the date and realized that it has been a whole year since the world literally stopped. So I felt it was an appropriate time to do a 1-year YouTube journey reflection, and I'd like to share my story with you and tell you why I started my YouTube journey and how it's been since then. But before getting into that, I do want to talk about the art a little bit. This is part 2 of 2-part series for this art piece, where I used a reference photo for the female figure, for the female portrait that I'm drawing here, and I decided to replace the flower from the portrait, from the reference photo, with a sunflower instead, and I added a couple extra things. When I started my art journey, I did want to draw portraits and be able to draw primarily women and have some kind of semi-realistic fantasy and surreal touch to it, but I had no idea how to really approach it. I never really drew as a hobby, and my art history is more technical, I guess you can say, and that's why I'm so comfortable with line art. So it took me a while to finally get to this stage where I was comfortable enough to be able to finally create portraits that in a style that I was interested in learning. So I'm fairly new to incorporating color into any of my drawings, and I'm completely amateur when it comes to skin tone, so I'm still learning, and I'm trying to look for resources mostly on YouTube and any websites that have vlogs that talk about certain techniques or whatnot. So if you do have any recommendations of any good resources, I would love to hear your thoughts on that, as that's something that I do struggle with very much, and that is why I'm going to try to continue drawing portraits so I can get more experience with that, as well as the anatomy of the face and the body as well. I also realized that I do struggle quite a bit with hair, and I think I'm not alone in that, so I do need to figure out how to break down my learning journey in drawing hair as well. But overall, I really enjoyed drawing this piece, and I feel like I might lean towards these type of pieces from here on out, even if it takes me longer. I would prefer to take my time to create these more in-depth pieces that would take a lot more time, and if I have to, I would just split up the videos instead of forcing myself to finish a piece under a certain amount of time just so I can upload. As I was drawing this portrait, I had a lot of time to think and reflect on my YouTube journey, and I think it's always important to take some time consistently to reflect on your journey, regardless of whether it's for YouTube or for your own life, just so you can be able to redirect yourself if you need to, and get a feel for how far you've come and how far you want to continue to go. For me, I do it a lot for clarity, as much as anybody else probably would be doing their reflection for as well. Since I do get stuck in my head a lot, I don't want to distract myself with any of my doubts or whatnot. We all created our YouTube channels for a specific reason. Everybody might not have the same reason as the next YouTuber, but for myself, I definitely created YouTube for a very personal reason, and that was for my own personal development, and that's why I dedicated the channel for personal development in general. Before YouTube though, I had created a blog so that I can get my thoughts out and kind of get a feel of what I'm comfortable writing about and discussing. And I became very frustrated because I'm not the most technical savvy person, and the website just created a lot of frustrations for me, and it held me back from being able to actually get the benefits of just writing and creating and expressing my thoughts because of all those challenges. And as I was doing a lot of my research for my blog, I kept coming across the idea that YouTube is the best and better platform to be able to share your experience and your content. Just because video seems to be the primary preference of people consuming content nowadays, which is absolutely understandable as it is a lot more engaging. So I looked back at my history for YouTube and I saw that I created it in March 10th of 2019, which is almost exactly 2 years from now while I create this video. Even though I created it back in March of 2019, I did not upload any videos or create any videos at all. I think that was just my taking the very first step in facing my fears, as I was terrified of creating a YouTube channel because I am pretty shy and introverted, and I didn't feel comfortable showing up on camera. And even now, just using voiceovers, I am still pretty nervous when I create my voiceovers and record myself. So it took me quite a while before I took the next step in actually creating any type of videos. My first videos were actually not art related, and they were just self-improvement type of videos, personal development type of videos, where I use pictures and video clips from Pixabay or Pixel.com, and I just wrote out my content after researching the topic and created the videos as a self-improvement type of channel. Those videos are no longer on my channel as I shifted to art, obviously, but I believe I uploaded my very first one sometime in the fall of 2019. And I believe I did a video a week, and I did it consistently for about 6 weeks to maybe 8 weeks. And I stopped because I got pretty busy at work, and it was getting pretty stressful at work, and I also was pretty discouraged as I had no idea how to get my videos out there. And since I didn't know how to edit, I didn't know how to do anything for video creation at all, it just took so much time and energy, and it was getting absolutely no views. So I stopped creating for a couple months. It was around Christmas time, and I just gave myself a break to kind of reflect if I wanted to continue making those type of videos. And during my break, I realized that one of my videos caught a small YouTube algorithm wave, and it was a book review of The Highly Sensitive Person, which is actually still on my channel. and it actually gets a decent amount of traffic compared to my other videos. And because I had that traffic coming into that video, I kind of felt a sense of obligation to continue, but I did not want to create just purely personal development videos any longer, because I also wanted to reconnect with art and be able to take some time to learn a lot of the art fundamentals and be able to get in touch with my creative side from that aspect as well. But I didn't have enough time to be able to I didn't have enough time to split between having art as my hobby and creating YouTube videos for personal development. And that is how I decided to just combine the two. Once I made that decision, I slowly started to come back with creating content, but it was more behind the scenes and I wasn't really uploading, and if I did, it was a random video here and there just to practice what it feels like to create the videos and edit the videos. And I didn't start creating videos consistently again until March of 2020, which is when I was furloughed from my job and had the time to be able to focus and be consistent with the channel. And at that time, I didn't have a good routine and I wasn't doing art consistently, and it was really difficult for me to force myself to sit down to do any type of art after not doing any at all. So that is why I settled for something very basic, very easy, and decided to go into cursive writing because I had just started journaling as well, and I wanted to be able to just get my hand used to writing. So deep down, I knew that these videos weren't going to be my best quality, as I was learning all of the skills to be able to create the videos and record them, edit them, and learn a little bit about the YouTube algorithm and all that comes with that. So I wanted to be able to allow myself the time to be able to create something very simple, very easy, but yet give me a very good return, which is building the habit of forcing myself to draw something every day, even if it's just something that is cursive writing. And as I created those cursive writing series, I started reflecting on my own history with art and creativity, and I realized that I really didn't draw very much as a hobby. My creativity as a kid was mostly just reading a lot of books. I did a lot of jigsaw puzzles. I loved word search puzzles, and I did have an obsession for quite a few years with origami. Although I do have a theory of why I didn't draw as a kid, I probably need to talk to a professional therapist about it, but it was just an experience, a very traumatic experience when I was about 5-6 years old, and my mother punished me for drawing on the wall by locking me into a closet and telling me that there was a mouse in there with me. So I don't know, but because I'm not a psychiatrist, I'm not a psychologist, so I think that probably had a lot to do with why I didn't draw, even though I do remember as a kid I wanted to, but something would stop me. Finally, around middle school age years, I started drawing randomly because I really liked Looney Tunes, so I started to learn how to draw that. At the same time, my mother and my stepfather had opened their own nail shop, and I helped them out at the nail shop by doing the art for the customers' nails. I was learning the airbrush machine. Airbrush was huge at that time, and I really enjoyed that. So I had the opportunity to reconnect creatively through that. As I entered into my high school years, I started doing nail art on the side for extra cash at times, and a lot of the times I did it for friends and didn't accept any money just because I wanted to do something nice for them, I guess you can say. And once I graduated high school, I did work as a nail artist for over 15 years while I put myself through college and get my degrees. But as I reflect on those years, I didn't really enjoy that as an art outlet. The only thing that I enjoyed from doing nails was just painting plain color. It was very therapeutic for me. I really enjoyed it. I was quite the perfectionist, and I didn't care much for any of the other aspects, not even the nail art, because I was really irritated and frustrated at people's indecisiveness and their limitations on allowing us to be able to creatively express our art in their designs. And when I graduated college and when I started my college years to become a nurse, that's when I stopped working so much as a nail artist, just to focus on my schooling and my career. And during my first couple years as a nurse, that's when I realized that there was something wrong, and that I needed to listen to myself, and there was just something telling me that I needed to go back to a creative outlet. Although I loved nursing and still love nursing as a career, I realized that the US healthcare system is not created to heal. It is a business, and it is a business that treats symptoms, and it doesn't necessarily heal. And something within my deep intuitions told me that I wanted to do something about that, and I didn't want to be in the hospital any longer. And that's what brought me back to my own art and to reconnect with my art. And that's how I started my YouTube channel, so that I can share my own personal development journey through my art and be able to share my healing journey as well. Everybody has their own obstacles in life, and I have my fair share as well. And I've been diagnosed not too long ago with CPTSD. For those of you who don't know what that is, it stands for Complex Post-Traumatic Stress Syndrome, which is basically PTSD that is caused by a length of time instead of just one specific incident, as compared to PTSD, which most people are familiar with. So that is my why that brought me to YouTube and brought me to creating this channel. I think that it might have quite a few makeovers, as I do tend to shift and change directions as I learn more about what works and what doesn't work. But for now, I am enjoying just using this platform to create and share my art and to document my own healing journey. And I'm hoping to figure out a way to be able to help others as well that are going through any type of similar experiences. So I think the hardest part of my YouTube journey is to make that initial decision to even create it. I think due to my own personality, I was very hesitant in doing that. I did not want to show up on camera. I still don't really show up on camera. I tried once or twice, I believe, in my very beginning videos, and those are gone. I was just very nervous, very awkward, but I promise I will show up on camera again, even if it's for an intro. But for now, I want to become more comfortable with the voiceovers before I do that. And the second hardest part of the YouTube journey was probably the first 100 subscribers. I had no idea how to gain those subscribers, and I wasn't comfortable sharing with my family and friends that I was creating this YouTube channel, so I didn't want to share it on my personal social media pages or anything like that to ask them to follow. But once I got over that hump or that obstacle, it was a lot better and a lot easier. And then I realized that I didn't want to be so obsessed with the subscriber count. So that was more of a mental and emotional challenge where I had to force myself to not look at the numbers and not prioritize how many subscribers I was getting. So I shifted my goals towards how many videos I was creating or how much time I was dedicating towards each aspect of the video creation process, whether it was editing or creating thumbnails and writing or researching, and of course my art as well. In the beginning stages, I feel like my art was very rusty as I haven't drawn for so many years. So I did resort to my comfort zone of line art and pointillism, as it was really easy for me and it didn't force me to have to think too much, and it was a meditative process for me as well. So that's my 1 year YouTube journey reflection here on my channel. I would love to hear about your journey on YouTube as well, and what your reasoning behind your creating your channel for YouTube. I did notice that there were a lot of lockdown channels that were created, and it made me very happy because I didn't feel so alone, and it was nice to see all these new channels created and that people were having the opportunity to reconnect with the things that they love. If you made it this far and you've actually listened to my rambling, thank you so much. I know I do ramble a lot, and I plan on creating longer art videos with some rambling and some research topics, just because I want to focus on these type of portraits that I'm enjoying right now, and they tend to be much more intense. I like to use my channel to just get my thoughts out and not just express ideas, but I'm hoping to also get other people who actually are listening to think about their own journeys, to think about their own character development in their life as well, because I feel like there's so much that each of us can do for our own health and well-being before it gets to the point where you need medical treatment. Because once you get to that point, it's very hard to come back to your baseline healthy. If you have any ideas or suggestions, recommendations for what I can do to improve my channel, I would really love to hear it and would appreciate any type of input, whether it's positive or negative. I do always look for ways to improve and grow, not just for my own personal development, but as my channel, and look for ways how I can provide value for everyone one who comes across my videos as well. Alright, so that's all I have for you today. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate every single one of you, and I will see all of you beautiful souls in the next one. Bye for now.